What the heck is going on with the SEC appeal? In this video, that is exactly what we are going to talk about because we were expecting to see the SEC file earlier today a notice of what they were actually going to be appealing in the Ripple SEC case, and we still haven't seen it. In this video, I want to talk about whether or not I think the SEC isn't going to file this notice and what it would mean for the Ripple SEC case. Guys, make sure to stick around for this whole thing. You are not going to want to miss it. Like always, your support means so much to this channel. Thank you to everyone who takes the time to like these videos and subscribe to the channel. These two simple things really do mean so much. Also, if you ever need a place to buy some XRP, make sure to check out my favorite exchange Uphold down in the description of this video. With that said, though, let's jump right into it, and I hope you guys enjoy the content. So guys, I need to start out this video and give a massive shout out to John Deaton. He absolutely killed it last night in his debate against Elizabeth Warren. I would play for you the highlights of this debate, but the entire thing was one massive highlight reel for John Deaton. Guys, I need everyone watching this right now to do whatever they can to support John Deaton. It doesn't have to be monetarily, even if it's just going to his X account, retweeting his posts. We need to be doing everything we can as a community to support John Deaton. John Deaton supported us pro bono. He didn't get paid anything for supporting the XRP community in the Ripple SEC case, but it's because of him XRP was deemed not a security by Judge Torres. This is so important to understand. John Deaton has a legitimate chance of beating Elizabeth Warren, but he needs all of our help to make that happen. Guys, I really appreciate everyone doing what they can to support John Deaton, and I do want to play you one clip from the debate because this is awesome and really just shows Elizabeth Warren had no idea what she was getting herself into. Listen to this.
Look, people of Massachusetts know me. If John Deaton has a chance to go to Washington, he's going to be there to fight for crypto.
I'm John Deaton, and I approve this message.
I love that from John Deaton. Elizabeth Warren literally says the quiet part out loud. John Deaton is going to fight for crypto. Well, she is going to continue to try to instate some kind of anti-crypto army, whatever the heck that means. Either way, guys, we all understand John Deaton can absolutely win this. His odds are skyrocketing right now, but without us helping out John Deaton, he doesn't have a chance. Make sure to do your part, and let's get John Deaton in Senate. It would be the biggest win the cryptocurrency industry had in a very long time. So now I want to move on and talk about this SEC appeal and why we haven't gotten it yet. And guys, just to be candid, it could drop in the middle of me doing this video. The SEC has until 12 o'clock tonight or 11:59 tonight to file this appeal. Now, my understanding is if that they don't file this appeal, essentially the appeal is dropped. So the SEC would essentially not be going forward with the appeal if they didn't file this Form C in which they make it clear what they're actually appealing. In my opinion, that is not going to happen. I do not see any reason the SEC would not file this appeal. The SEC would essentially be giving up after they already did the hard work of saying they were going to appeal the case. It wouldn't make any sense for them to fall back on this now. Now, in terms of what the SEC is appealing, I think that's actually pretty straightforward. I want to show you exactly what the SEC is appealing, but why I think that despite the fact that I do think the SEC is going to appeal this case, I don't think the case is going to go as long as many people think. Take a look at this. This is from Fred Rispoli earlier today. He said, for those waiting for the SEC to file Form C in the Ripple appeal, it's not a mystery. The SEC will appeal 1, Torres is wrong on programmatic sales. That is Ripple selling XRP to an exchange and an exchange selling XRP to retail clients. 2, Torres is wrong on other distributions, so grants and stuff like that. 3, Torres is wrong on not allowing disgorgement. So essentially, the SEC failed to find a single person who was hurt by Ripple selling XRP. Just so you guys know, this was a massive embarrassment for the agency. The SEC is going to appeal the fact that they were supposed to find someone who was hurt. Absolutely ridiculous, but I think he's right here. And then 4, Judge Torres is wrong on ordering too low of a penalty. So essentially, Judge Torres should have made a larger penalty when it came down to what Ripple's fine was for those institutional sales of XRP. Now, Fred also thinks it's possible that the SEC may try to appeal XRP itself being a security. Now, he doesn't think there's any chance this is going to be successful. He thinks the SEC will fall flat on their face doing this, and he actually doesn't even think it's allowed for the SEC to appeal this, but he just says, based on the fact that the SEC is the SEC, it could be a situation in which the SEC just to essentially give a middle finger to the XRP community, tries to throw this in there. Now, like I said, essentially the biggest thing we're watching right now is whether or not the SEC does in fact appeal this thing. I think there's a 100% chance the SEC is going to appeal this. Now, I was wrong when I said the SEC wasn't going to appeal this case the first time, right? I got that completely wrong. So I would be more than happy to be wrong again and have the SEC actually not file this form. I just think there's a very low chance that's going to happen. Now, the person who provided the information on when the SEC had to file this appeal was actually Eleanor Terrett, and that was reported on from Stuart Alderati. So we assume that tonight is the night the SEC needs to file this appeal. But there was some debate about the actual day. Some people were saying it was tomorrow. Now, I would assume Stuart Alderati would know better than anyone. So I do trust Eleanor's reporting here, and I think Stuart Alderati is most likely right. I just want to make it clear, there was some debate earlier today on X on when the SEC actually had to file this thing. I still do believe it's 11:59 tonight, and I still do believe the SEC will file that appeal by then. And I think Fred Rispoli is on the money on what they're going to appeal here. I think the biggest question is how big of a middle finger does the SEC try to give the XRP community? Are they actually going to say that XRP itself could be a security? They might try to do that. I think that holds no water. I think they'll fail. I think it'll be miserable. I think it'll be embarrassing, but that's who we're dealing with here, unfortunately. So with all that said, I want to talk about why I actually don't think this case is going to go as long as many people think right now. And I think this is probably a view that not a lot of people are paying attention to, and might be one of the most important views when it comes down to this actual appeal. One of the things we are seeing right now is it is becoming more and more probable that Gary Gensler will be out of the SEC. This is going to be regardless of what happens with the election. A lot of people are now looking at a situation where Gary Gensler is going to be forced out of the SEC regardless. The reason this is so important is because this drastically increases the chance that this case is going to be settled. I don't think there's any way Gary Gensler is settling the Ripple SEC case. I don't think there is any way Gary Gensler is going to drop the appeal in the Ripple SEC case. But I think a future commissioner has a very good chance of really shaking up the SEC's current enforcement actions. And the reason for that is right now, essentially, both parties are trying to get out of this anti-cryptocurrency stance. Ripple is a massive donor for a lot of these different political pundits. Ripple is also one of the most well-known US companies when it comes to cryptocurrency. Suing people like Ripple and Coinbase is simply a bad look. It's really bad for voters. It's really bad for donations. It's really bad for showing support for the cryptocurrency industry. Whoever comes into the SEC next, I believe, is going to have a layup being more pro-crypto. They don't even have to be that pro-crypto to be more pro-crypto than Gary Gensler, who has been an absolutely abysmal SEC chair for the cryptocurrency industry. So I think that so long as this prediction plays out and the SEC does in fact get a shakeup with a more pro-crypto SEC commissioner, I think that is going to do astronomical things for the cryptocurrency industry. And I believe there's an extremely high probability that in that event, the Ripple SEC case does not go the distance. But the most important thing we need to be focused on right now is whether or not we do in fact get this appeal later today, or possibly even at some point tomorrow. We'll have to wait and see on that. Like I said earlier, I do think the SEC is in fact going to be appealing this thing. I just don't think it makes a lot of sense for the SEC to walk back on the appeal they already filed. If the SEC was going to want to end this case early, if the SEC was going to want to jump ship on this thing and get out of it, I think it makes a lot more sense if the SEC was actually instead going to go to Ripple and push Ripple to actually settle the case. The SEC has leverage right now. The SEC knows Ripple doesn't want this case ongoing. The SEC knows Ripple wants this over with. The SEC knows Ripple wants to focus on expanding their business in the United States. And none of this is going to happen to the degree Ripple wants it to happen unless they essentially get out of this case. So the SEC has all the leverage to force Ripple into a settlement. It doesn't make any sense why they would ultimately not appeal the case now and I don't know, just give up. Why would they do that? They've already fought this entire time. They're funded by taxpayers. They have unlimited money, and all they have to lose is what they have to lose at the current moment. It's pretty much a massive loss for them. So I don't see that happening. The last note I will say before I let you guys go and before we just sit back and watch what happens is maybe once again, the SEC will do the most illogical thing ever. Maybe once again, we see the SEC do the most illogical thing ever. And despite all the reasons I said, they choose not to appeal the case because who knows? Nothing they've done has made sense so far. So maybe that trend continues. That's not what I would be betting on. I am betting we do see the appeal. Going to be really interesting. You know, we will be covering it first thing tomorrow morning. Would love to see all of you there. Guys, thank you so much for coming. And for now, Mickle out.